So what is going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another video here on the FreakFly's YouTube channel, and today we're going to be making something different. I'm going to be making a little bit of a tutorial, or more of an overview of how to make one of those L's to put on your next to your chest strap for you to be able to see your altimeter, whether you're doing wingsuiting or you're canopy piloting and you don't want to look in your wrist. You can put it there. So a lot of people ask me why I use it on my leg, because sometimes I use my altimeter on my leg, sometimes I use it here, depends on what I'm doing, really. But I'm going to teach you guys anyway. So this is a really simple one. Of course, there's going to be different methods, different variations, but this is the one I use, and I already have made like 3 or 4. I don't use them because what ends up happening is when I'm doing a wingsuit course, I will tell the students about it and how it's required for wingsuit, and they'll be like, oh, I want to buy one, and I'm like, I don't have one for sale, but I can sell you, you can use mine. And then they finish the course and they're like, hey, can I buy this one? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll make one when I have time, and I never have time. So I already made one yesterday, just to try it out, a black one. But today I want to make a blue one with some white details because it's going to look good on my other rig. So first thing you're going to need that I'm not really including on the video is you're going to need a little piece of metal. This is like a 2mm or 1.5mm thick piece of metal. This one is really it's thin in terms of the width. See, and of course it's going to be thin this way. And it's really thin. This is the actual size, as you guys can see, but it can be a little bit bigger. I recommend it to be just a little bit smaller than webbing. So webbing is 1 3/4 inch, so maybe 1.5 inch would be perfect. Actually, the one I used yesterday was completely the perfect size. You want it to be not malleable by hand, so you can't like really bend it by hand. That's what you want it to be, but you also don't want it to be so thick that if you do bend it like 90 degrees, it's going to break. So you want some malleable carbon steel or something that you can work with. And what I've done is I've cut it to size. So the size I'm using is 12 centimeters. I've found that it's the perfect size. So it's about 6 to 7 centimeters for the base, and then the rest about 5 to 6 centimeters for the actual part that's going to hold the viso. And depending if you want to use a viso or an arch, Aries, whatever, you should do it a little bit different. Why am I saying 7 to 6? Because you're not going to bend it perfectly. You're going to bend it at an angle, but we're going to see how to do it later in the video, how to bend it. Now, if you don't have a shop at home, or you really don't have a way to do it, like to bend it, I recommend you already asking it to be bent in wherever you cut the metal and get it filed down, because they have a bench vise there, and in the bench vise you can bend it the way it needs to be bent. It's not so easy to bend if you don't have the tools. What I also did was, of course, I filed it down on all corners, and I put a little bit of tape around it. Now, this isn't like skydiving. This is not going to be load-bearing material. It's going to be like risers on a rig or whatever. This is just going to be an object. So you don't need to use mil-spec material, and you don't need to treat it like a mil-spec piece of gear. So what you can do is you don't need to really do this protection thing. This is just so that it lasts 20 to 30 years, because as the corners start digging on the webbing or on the line, whatever, it's going to start cutting, and in a few maybe years, if you don't treat the material correctly, it's not gonna last. And it's good to, even if you're not doing skydiving, mil-spec stuff, so to speak, it's always good to get the habit of doing everything the correct, safe way, so that when you do skydiving stuff, it's just second nature. So protect this so that it doesn't get damaged. And of course I made it a little bit bigger so that I can bend it around and make even more of a layer of protection. So yeah, just a little bit of black tape is enough for this. Now, in terms of material itself, I have here the wall of materials. We're going to use this piece of webbing. You can use the most common webbing, any webbing really. This is 1 3/4 inch. I believe it's type 4. I'm not sure, but you can use type 8, even type 7, but type 8 is probably going to be really easy to get. This is a little bit thinner, so I think it's type 4, but I'm not sure. Do not quote me on that. And we're going to use it in this royal blue color, because it's going to match really well with my rig. And again, because it's 12 centimeters, we just bend it in half, and we get a rough measurement of how much we're going to need. And if we look, we're going to need about this much, so we can cut it to size. And when you're doing something like this, where you're first making the dress, so to speak, and then you're filling it up, and it happens when you're doing handles, when you're doing this sort of stuff, where you're making the exterior fabric first, and then you're filling it up, or for instance, a weight belt, also you do it like that. It's always good to really take your time and think about what you're doing, because don't ask me how many times it has happened that I start making a little project like a handle, a weight belt or whatever, and I start like closing everything for it to be able to receive the weights or the sponges inside the, and then when I'm starting to close it up, so to speak, I notice that I would love to put a logo here, or I would love to put a little piece of velcro or a little piece of loop, like of webbing, for it to be able to hold something else. So it happens a lot to me. So what I want you guys to think is really think about what you need to do. And this one is exactly one of those projects where you can't just bend this up, put it over the piece of metal, and you're done. No, you need to first put some little details on this for it to work. So the two details you're going to have to put, the two things it's going to need to take is, so it's going to be basically like this, bent, see, and here it's going to be connected to, this part's going to have the viso here, and then this part's going to connect to your rig itself. So the top part, we can actually draw this in half. We can cut it, like put a line in the halfway point, more or less, of course, and we can realize that this side is going to have the velcro, the big velcro for the viso. This side is going to have the smaller velcros to actually attach to your chest strap. So this top part here is going to have a thin velcro, and this bottom part here is going to have a thin velcro. The size in between is going to be the chest strap size, and you'll see why in a minute when I show you how it actually attaches. So what we can do is we can more or less put a little piece of webbing in the middle and see, okay, how much space we need for the chest strap. So again, I made the markings because I more or less know by sight, you know. So the chest strap needs to fit right in between there. So what we can do is we can grab our velcro, and I'm going to use white velcro just so that it looks a little bit neater. I have black velcro here as well. And what we're going to use is we're going to measure out the pieces of velcro we need for this. So of course we're going to need both velcros. Oh no, it's not the right velcro. I was getting scared that I didn't have normal velcro. This was velcro with glue on the back. I don't know why it's there. Let's see. So here we have the female and the male velcro, and we're gonna actually get the size that we need. So yesterday I did check the size I needed, but I completely forgot how much. So if we do, so it's going to need 20 centimeters to go around. Now the thing is, we need it to overlap where we stitch, and we need it to overlap where it's going to actually glue. So if we cut about 15 centimeters of velcro, it's going to be plenty of velcro, and we can later trim it down to the size we need. So I'm going to cut a nice conservative size of velcro. We're going to go here, more or less the size of velcro we need. We're going to trim it up. Okay, there you go, one. The rest we'll save for later use. Now, we're gonna stitch the velcro to this, okay? First things first, we need to remember that the velcro needs to be facing opposite ways. So we're gonna be stitching the velcro in a way that it's able to glue it to itself, of course. So we're not gonna do it with both of the active sides facing up. One of them is gonna be facing down, and we can overlap just a little bit so that it holds itself together. And if we do this, we know that when we stitch it here, it's gonna be the correct orientation. Top tip, do not leave your fucking, I don't know how to say in English this thing, but don't leave it closed. I don't know why it was closed, but probably a little mistake, because it ruins it. But we're gonna change the color of the line, so from black to blue. A little bit of excess goes back, and now we change the bottom coil in. And as always, when you're rigging it up, pick up an old piece of fabric from the trash can or from your waste, and try it out. So we're gonna put 0 width, the spacing on 3. I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna check for tension. This is terrible because it's type 8 webbing, so it's really hard to check for the correct tension. But it looks to be even, so we know that it's more or less right. More or less. So we're gonna get to stitching now. Turn it around. One more. Good. that went off a little bit, but that's fine. And we'll just go back in. Remember guys, this isn't like mil-spec or whatever, so it's fine. I'm gonna go in there. Final line, because it didn't start stitching a little, started stitching a little bit late there. And then now the line in between, just to hold everything in there together. And boom, finished. So we just tidy everything up with a pair of scissors, and this is the final product. This is what we want, and I think you guys can understand more or less how it's gonna work, how it's gonna attach. I'm gonna mark, you use this as a ruler. I'm gonna mark how thick the lines need to be, and then we can just make the lines right there so that it holds this thing tight inside. So we can just mark on both sides more or less what we need. So now that we stitched everything, we can chuck this thing in. So we're gonna fold it up. So I'm gonna push it until it doesn't want to go anymore. It's all the way in, good. And now we can start to close it off. Okay, so we're gonna have Velcro on both sides. And this is what we're gonna do. Just flatten it out, okay? And we want it to fit this way. And as you can see, this Velcro is pretty much the size of the Viso bracelet, right? So we're gonna attach this to here, okay? And it doesn't need to go super deep. We can actually use it to cover up this piece of not good looking material. We can cut it to be a little bit more even. And we're gonna actually stitch it up, and we're gonna overlap it a little bit, like so. Because if you hit the needle on the metal, it's gonna be a fun thing for the, it's not gonna be fun, I mean. So yeah, we're gonna go here to the corner, drag down a little bit, on. And we're gonna do double stitching so that it looks like a little bit neater. So there you go, just like that. Perfect. I'll go back a little bit. Good. And I'm gonna finish it off this way. Okay, so what you're gonna be left with is exactly this: a piece of plate with some Velcro here, and these Velcros. Exactly what we want. Now, this thing here, we can modify it to only work here. But I know of there's a technique for you to use a bracelet that's not cut. The thing is, this bracelet is so damaged, you might as well just cut it. Here comes the best part of everyone's day, which is stitching on Velcro. So as you can see, this is barely the size we need, but it's gonna be enough. We just gotta be ingenious with the way we stitch it. So, off the shoe of the machine or whatever you call this, to be able to adjust the positioning of the plastic and just backtrack a little bit in the end, and you're done. So this is it. Okay. Velcro on one side and the Viso thing on the other side. And this is how it's gonna look. We're gonna glue it on. Okay. Just like so. This side goes here, and this side goes there. Complex, thick pieces of Velcro. So much for holding a fucking altimeter. But it does hold it well, so that's what's important. So now that we have this all attached, we can go and bend it. It's the last step, is to bend it. So put this in the vise and bend it to size. That's the trick. I'm not going to show you guys how to bend it, but it's pretty simple. You got to bend it at an angle, so 90 degrees, and it's going to be tilted towards you a little bit. So here, guys, thank you for watching the video. Hope you liked it. It was pretty boring and it's a pretty janky way of doing it, but it gets the job done. My other one looks way better. I'll probably try to show it on the video. Thank you so much. See you guys on the next video.